Hey guys, what's up? It's Jay, and this is my video on the new trailer for Zelda Wii U and NX, which has officially been titled The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. While watching, keep in mind that if I was to do a full analysis on this, it would be a good 45 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes long, and that would just wear me out. And this is just going to serve as a detailed video because it's the things that I noticed and wanted to talk about. If I missed something that you want to know my thoughts on, I'm sorry, but you are free to leave a comment asking and I'll be sure to reply. So to start off, the trailer begins with voice acting of all things. Yes, it seems there will be some actual voice acting in this game. It's not exactly new, as the narration in Hyrule Warriors is also actual voice acting, but then again, it's not something we've ever seen in a main title. We don't see any other people in the trailer, so there's no confirmation that there was going to be other characters who have voice actors. But my prediction for the voice is that it's going to belong to your companion character. Basically, this game's version of like Navi or something. So the next thing I want to talk about is this scene right here, where we see this floating object. After I put out my video on the image release this past weekend, Nintendo ended up giving us a full version that showed much more of it. You can see at these 4 locations, there are the same floating objects. I still have no idea what they could be used for. I at first thought they might be indicators of where the main 4 dungeons would be, but that seems to not be the case as shown in the trailer. My new prediction for these is that they're not just random objects. They're going to be extremely important in the game, and I'm thinking that at the very least they're going to connect somehow. Not physically, but like they're going to have one large purpose. Maybe you need to activate them all by doing some specific things in each area, and then something will happen once you activate them all. Then a little later we see this structure, and it matches the castle in the image from earlier. If you look, you can see this part of the castle matches in shape to this part of the trailer, as well as this part of the castle in the image matches perfectly with this part in the trailer. So my guess is that these are the same castle. This part I'm a little lost on, because nowhere in the gameplay footage shown do we see where it's all dark, rainy, and gloomy like this, and we only see it one more time in the trailer. So my prediction is that this little cut here between light and dark in this scene is just an edit made to look fancy, but it isn't like that in real time, and it's going to be more of a before and after type thing. My guess is that the beginning of the game, which will serve as the tutorial, as well as likely more of the story, will eventually turn into this darker looking time. Similar to how in Ocarina of Time, the castle area is bright and full of people, but then after the time skip, which is basically just one cutscene, when you wake up, the castle is now all dark and gloomy and filled with those little zombie guys. I don't remember what they're called. My guess is that it's going to be something similar to that, and that's why in the image you can see the evil mist. That's going to be after all the dark and gloomy stuff comes. Next, I'm going to be talking about the gameplay mechanics that I noticed. First, we see Link jumping off a ledge and hang gliding, which we actually have proof that that'll be something you can actually do. Then we see Link sneaking up on a horse, which the sneaking up part, we also have proof that you can do at any time. But the weird part here is that he's mounting what seems to be an unsuspecting horse. This leads me to believe that this is not Epona, as there is a horse resembling Epona much more that can be seen in the next scene, and maybe we can ride other animals instead of just Epona. Then, what we were all hyped for from that same images earlier that was released this past weekend, we have proof and confirmation that climbing is actually a thing in this game. There were plenty of parts in the gameplay video that proved this as well. It seems that sometimes you can do it at the press of a button. On top of a cliff, you can press the A button to start your climb down, but I didn't notice any button for climbing up, so maybe it's automatic like when you climb ladders and vines. But it also seems that there's no specific areas that are like climbable places that are climb here only type areas. In the gameplay video, the player was moving up, down, left, and right on one ledge, going everywhere on the face of that cliff. So it seems if you start climbing a ledge, similar to vines, there isn't a specific part of it where you have to stay on, but rather, as long as you're on the ledge, or similarly, on the area where there's vines, you'll be able to move freely in any direction. So there's a number of things you can do, so I'll just try to get through these a little quicker without taking too long. So it seems you're going to be able to use different types of weapons now. rather than just a sword as seen here with an axe, and you can even switch between weapons, so that's pretty cool. There's also this fire thing, which I can't really tell what's going on here, but he seems to be using something that's on fire to light something else on fire. Similar to when you use the lantern in Twilight Princess or the Deku Sticks in the Ocarina of Time to light spiderwebs to open paths, it looks like he's doing kind of the same thing here, but in a kind of a different motion. And he's catching grass on fire for some reason. So maybe this type of grass, like this darker grass, is only able to be passed through when burned down. Guess we'll find out. Then he seems to be cooking? Okay. I'm guessing this will be just basically the same thing as fusing items and whatnot. Synthesis and whatever. Like taking a bunch of crappy health items that don't do much and making them into one better one that does a lot more than all those combined. I did notice in the gameplay video that you can eat food items to heal, so this is the only way that this makes sense. This part was pretty interesting to me. Link seems to be using some kind of magic to make ice blocks appear to use as platforms. So I really want to know more on this, but they don't give us anything else, so on to the next thing? With this one, I'm actually completely lost. I have no idea. It looks like a magnet, but it clearly isn't. So what the heck is it? This weird cut doesn't help any either. My thought here is what actually happened is that he used whatever that is to pick up the object out of the water, then carry it while still holding it with whatever that is he has in his hands, and then dropped it on the enemies, but then they just cut out the part where he carried it in the video. It would be similar to those guns you see in some games and sci-fi movies where there's like a beam that comes out of the gun, and when it hits the person, it doesn't actually hurt them, but you can move your arm up and down and it'll pick up the person. Something like that. Tractor beam, I guess, is what you'd call that. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, something like that. We then see Link dodge, which is also how you back dodge in the game. Basically, it's just how you dodge backwards. And then he does a combo, which shows that he can actually hold a spear too, so that's pretty cool. After that, we see yet another first for the Zelda series. Jumping. Yeah, you can jump in this game, and there's even a button for it. HMK put out a video of him playing the demo at E3, and he said that it was the X button that you use to jump. So the last thing that we get to see Link do is using the book that we saw when we first got news of the game, that nobody knew what the book was. You know, the one with the Sheikah eye symbol on it. It seems that when he places it against this pillar, a door opens. But where does this door go? I can't really figure that out. I guess that's just another thing we're going to have to wait to learn about. And finally, the end of the trailer is a shot of the Master Sword. This scene has been bringing up the theory that this is going to be a remake of the original game, because the sword is in the same type of place. It's in like this foresty area, and then the ground kind of has that little raised section, I don't know what you would call it, where the sword is in place, and it's stuck in there and you have to go get it out. But I don't think this is going to be a remake. It just doesn't seem like it to me. Plus, look at the sword. It looks disgusting. That is not how the sword looked in the original game, ever. It never looked like that. And it was never said to have looked like that. Like, there was no hint in the original game that it was like all old and decrepit looking. But I don't know what this could mean, so I don't really have any predictions because I don't really understand what this is trying to tell us. But it's pretty obvious that they wouldn't have shown us this if it wasn't going to be super important. Alright, so that is all for this video. Again, if you want to hear my thoughts on something that I did not mention here, please leave a comment for me, and I'll reply with whatever my thoughts are on whatever it is you're asking. So subscribe for more, and I will see you guys later.
Yeah.